Driving Television is brought to you by driving.ca.
Over the last year, we've seen a real turnaround from General Motors. They've had some very solid vehicles like the Buick Enclave and the Saturn Aura. Buyers are really starting to take notice.
And Saturn is the division of General Motors that really has had the biggest turnaround, with a fistful of brand new models that have either hit the showroom or are just about to.
This is the all-new Saturn Vue compact SUV, here to take on the competition.
Styling is strong, with a similar look at the front to the new full-size Saturn Outlook we drove last year. Staff members here think that the side profile is similar to the CR-V, but I think the rear styling is similar to the Hyundai Tucson. Regardless of what it resembles, the overall styling is attractive. One thing I could live without are the mock vents on the front fenders.
There are 4 versions of the Vue: the base XE with the 4-cylinder or V6, this XR with the larger V6, and then you've got the high-performance Redline model and a hybrid. This XR version can be spotted by the front fog lights, roof rails, painted lower body panels, and 17-inch versus 16-inch wheels that are found on the base model.
Open up the back of the Vue, pretty standard stuff. I do notice that the load height here seems a little high to me. What you do get in the back is a rear management system. Just what we need, more management. But in truth, it really does work well. You have these clips on the side that slide on rails. It can stop items from sliding around in the back. You get a standard cargo net. The back doesn't seem as big as the previous model because the vehicle is more rounded and sculpted, so you have to give something up. The materials are good back here, and of course the back seats split and fold. The floor by the back seat is perfectly flat. There's no bump. It seems like a small thing, but if you've ever tried to herd kids in and out of a back seat, it makes things a lot easier. The interior materials are a huge jump up from the previous model. This vehicle is much more upscale. For a full list of specs on the entire Vue lineup, go to drivingtelevision.com.
Zach's right. The interior is very pleasant, and the dash has a familiar look to it that we've seen on a lot of GM vehicles lately. The seat is height adjustable even on the base model, and the steering wheel tilts but doesn't telescope. We did notice a few things that we'd like to see improved. The seats have short bottoms, so a little more thigh support would definitely be welcome. The steering wheel on this vehicle has the leather pulling away. The turn signal and wiper stock look like they're out of an 80s Renault. Plus, they feel really cheap. The cup holders are way down on the floor, which is a bit out of reach. These are all pretty small things that we can live with because we really enjoyed driving this new Vue. The base model is a front-wheel drive vehicle, and it's a 2.4-liter 4-cylinder. Now, if you want, you can upgrade to an all-wheel drive model. It's a 3.5-liter V6 with 222 horsepower. Now, here's something that's easy to remember. The 4-cylinder is a 4-speed automatic, and the 6-cylinder is a 6-speed automatic. But Saturn has yet another engine to put a smile on your face. A 3.6-liter V6 with 252 horsepower and 241 pound-feet of torque. This is the motor in this XR model and the Redline version. With this motor, the Vue is very quick off the line, passes with authority, and it turns this compact SUV into a real performer. We wish we had the other motors to try out. On second thought, no, we don't. This one is just way too much fun. What I really like with the Vue is the solid, comfortable ride, especially on the highway. Now, personally, I don't like the heavy feel to the steering wheel, but I think this would be a great commuter car. It's comfortable and definitely handles more like a car.
I gotta tell you, I'm very impressed with this new Saturn Vue. It really feels solid and planted on the road. You can throw it into corners with a lot of confidence. It really feels stuck down, and the steering isn't overly boosted. Actually, Saturn didn't fall into that trap of making the vehicle too soft. We recently had the new Toyota Highlander on the show, and I felt that it was just a little too soft for my driving style. I like a vehicle with a little more pizzazz, and if you're like me and you like to have a little fun behind the wheel, this Saturn Vue has it in spades. Well, as Lacey mentioned, this 3.6-liter V6 has a 6-speed automatic transmission, no 5-speed. They went straight to a 6-speed, and credit has to go to the designers because the placement of the shifter is perfect. You just slide it over, do a quick shift. It actually is the placement you get with, say, a manual transmission. Well, the Saturn Vue starts around $27,000 if you want a V6 with all-wheel drive, $31,000, and the one we have here, the higher trim level XR, is $34,000. Sure, it's a little bit more than the Hyundai Santa Fe, but it really is competitively priced in the rest of the pack. What did you think of it?
Well, I absolutely love the exterior styling. It's a great handling vehicle. It's got a smooth ride, and I love the fact that there's so many model options. You can get the hybrid, the red line, front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive. It gives the consumers a lot of choices. On the downside, it's the same complaints that I seem to be having with a lot of the GM vehicles lately. The buttons are still too small, the seats are too firm, and the bottom of the seats are just too short. Zach, what do you think?
You know, it's funny because you don't like the harder seats, I like the harder seats, so we disagree on that one. I totally agree with you. First and foremost for me, it's all about the way this vehicle drives. It handles well. It feels well planted on the road. This big 6-cylinder engine is very powerful. This thing moves out in a hurry. It's a real driver's kind of compact SUV. It doesn't have that floaty feeling that you get from some of the manufacturers. And the transmission, it's a 6-speed automatic. With some manufacturers, you get even a 4 or a 5-speed. It's a 6-speed and it does an admirable job. On the downside for me, it's some of the ergonomic things. First of all, there's no telescopic steering wheel. I don't understand that, why they can't put that in there. I agree with Lacey that the seat bottoms are too short. And I don't get those turn signal and the wiper thing. I mean, they look like something out of the 80s and they feel cheap in your hand. And the turn signal goes tick-tock, tick-tock. Hello, I'm awake. So in your view, did you like it?
View? That's all you've got is view.
Well, I couldn't come up with anything about Saturn. Planets.
Want to buy a new car but can't decide? Go to driving.ca and do your own research by using the comparison tool.